Hello students, good evening, and I'm sure that you are all doing good. And today, as this is a time of revision, I am revising the important parts from some important parts of some of the chapters from class 12 syllabus, class 12 CBSE. So the chapter one is about the titled reproduction in organisms, which you have studied a number of times and in elaborate way, in a very detailed way. And I have two videos. I have made two videos on this chapter, which you will find in this channel. If you feel like, you can listen to these videos and have a complete revision of this chapter 1. Now we go to chapter 2, which is the sexual reproduction in plants. So sexually plants are reproducing through the male part, that is stamen, and also the female part, that is the pistil. So now you are aware of these parts, but what more about anther? Anther is bilobed, it is dithecous, and it is microsporangiate, that you all know. And now the structure wise, if somebody asks, if there is a question, then what is the structure of the anther? And this structure is the anther is your tetragonal, that is four sides are there. Okay, and in each side there is a microsporangia. Okay, and two in each lobes. Okay, so now this microsporangia only develop into pollen sac later on. So the center of the microsporangia contains a tissue which is called the sporogenous tissue. Now about the structure of the sporangia, you will find that there is a wall which is having four. Around the sporangia, there is a wall having four layers. The epidermis, the endothecium, and then the middle layer, and then the tapetum, which is providing food to the your anther. So this is the structure of the microsporangia. Now what is happening in the tissue which is there in the center, that is the sporogenous tissue, the cells undergo meiosis, which is also called microsporogenesis. So these develop into, these cells after meiosis develop into microspores, and the microspore tetrad gradually turn into the pollen grains after the anthers mature and dehydrate. सो स्टूडेंट्स, ये जो हमने बात अभी कही वो है एंथर के बारे में. एंथर जो आप लोग जानते हैं, ये टेट्रागोनल है और इसके फोर साइड्स है, और इस साइड में एक माइक्रोस्पोरेंजिया है. और माइक्रोस्पोरेंजिया का जो वॉल है, जो सराउंडिंग वॉल है, वो उसमें चार लेयर है: एपिडर्मिस, एंडोथेसियम, द मिडिल लेयर और द टैपेटम. और इसके सेंटर में एक टिश्यू है जिसका नाम है योर एंडोजेनस टिश्यू, और जिसके सेल में मियोसिस होता है, जिससे कि माइक्रोस्पोर तैयार होते हैं, और माइक्रोस्पोर ही बाद में पोलन ग्रेन्स बनते हैं. सो दिस इज how the pollen grains are formed. And pollen grains, if you talk about, there are two walls, as you know, two layers. One is exine, another is entine. और ये एक्साइन इतना बहुत ज़्यादा मजबूत होता है, बहुत हार्ड होता है, और ये बना होता है किस मटेरियल का? ये बना होता है योर स्पोरोपोलेनिन का. स्पोरोपोलेनिन इज द मटेरियल विच इज मेकिंग द एक्साइन. और स्पोरोपोलेनिन इज सो हार्ड एंड टफ दैट इट कैनॉट बी डिस्ट्रॉयड बाय एंजाइम्स. और इसमें पोलन ग्रेन्स में स्पोर्स भी होते हैं, पोर्स भी होते हैं, लेकिन स्पोर्स में स्पोरोपोलेनिन नहीं होता है. सो दिस इज एक्साइन. और एंटाइन के बारे में स्टूडेंट्स आप लोग सभी जानते हैं कि ये द इनर पार्ट ऑफ द पोलन ग्रेन, द साइटोप्लाज्म इज कंटेन देयर, दैट इज द एंटाइन. और इसमें दो सेल होता है जनरली, एक जेनरेटिव सेल और एक वेजिटेटिव सेल. In 60% of the angiosperms, the cells are one vegetative and one generative. But in the rest of the angiosperms, there is a three cell stage, that is one vegetative and two generative nuclei, or two generative cells, that is two gametes. So there are two male gametes in many of the angiosperms. So we can take this three cell stage, that is two male gametes and one vegetative cell. Okay, so this is the intine, okay, the inner part of the pollen grain. और पोलन ग्रेन के संबंध में कुछ और इन्फॉर्मेशन आपके इस बुक में है, और जो एनसीईआरटी का बुक है, विच इज़ सेल्फ सफिशिएंट एंड इज़ कंप्लीट इन इट्स कंटेंट्स. तो इसमें एक है कि पोलन ग्रेन से कुछ रेस्पिरेटरी डिसऑर्डर्स हो सकते हैं, और उसमें ब्रोंकाइटिस और अदर ब्रीदिंग प्रॉब्लम्स आर देयर. और इसमें एग्जाम्पल के तौर पर यू कैन जस्ट रिमेंबर द नेम्स ऑफ द फ्लावर्स, द पोलन ऑफ विच कॉज दिस रेस्पिरेटरी disorders. And those flowers are from parathenium and carol grass. Parathenium and carol grass are the examples for pollen allergies, right? And pollen grains are also believed to be very, very nutritious. And in Western countries, a large number of pollen products are available in the form of tablets. Okay, so some of the examples are bee pollen, okay, which is available in the form of tablets. So pollen consumption has been claimed to increase the performance of athletes and race horses. So this is very, very this provides energy. Nutrient value is very high of these pollen grains. अब जब pollen grains shed होते हैं, when they are shed, they have to fall on the stigma for further development of pollen tube and then fertilization. But if they don't fall, if fertilization does not take place, then what will happen? How long the viability of the pollen grain will be there? This also you should know. So this varies from 30 minutes to few months. Okay, the period for which pollen grains remain viable is highly variable. In some flowers, it is 30 minutes. In some, it is about 1 month or more than a month. So, like in cereals like rice and wheat, pollen grains lose viability within 30 minutes, okay, of their release. जैसे रिलीज होते हैं तो viability कब तक रहेगा? 30 minutes, wheat और rice में. And in some members, जैसे कि इसमें आपके लेगुमिनस में और सोलानेसी में क्या होता है कि इन दिस members of this phylum of in plants, इसमें the viability of the pollen grains can remain up to more than a month. So they maintain the viability for months. So this is the difference in maintaining the viability of pollen grains. और जब हम इसके फीमेल पार्ट, फ्लावर के फीमेल पार्ट की तरफ आते हैं, तो एक्स्ट्रा इन्फॉर्मेशन जो आपको चाहिए इन क्लास 12, दैट इज अबाउट द कार्पल, दैट इज द योर स्टिग्मा स्टाइल एंड ओवरी. और इसमें जो कार्पल्स हैं वो द गैनेशियम में कंसिस्ट ऑफ वन पिस्टिल, एक ही पिस्टिल हो सकता है जिसको मोनोकार्पेटेड बोलते हैं, और किसी में एक से ज़्यादा भी हो सकता है, दैट इज मल्टी कार्पेटेड. In the case of stamen also, there can be one stamen which is called the monohydrous. There can be two stamen, that condition is called the diadelphous, and there can be more than two, a number of stamens in some flowers, that is the polyanhydrous. Okay, so monoadelphous stamen का एग्जाम्पल है कॉटन, चाइना रोज एक्सेट्रा, विद ओनली सिंगल स्टेमन इज देयर। इन डायाडल्फस का जो स्टेमन है, द एग्जाम्पल इज पी। ओके, द filaments are united in two bundles. So monoadelphous means the stamens are united in one group by their filaments. Stamens are there, but they are united in one group by their filaments. That is monoadelphous. Example is cotton and china rose. And diadelphous में क्या होता है? Filaments are united in two bundles. दो बंडल होंगे. जो एग्जाम्पल है P, ओके, आउट ऑफ 10 9 स्टेमन एक बंडल में और एक स्टेमन एक बंडल में. So that is diadelphous. Or polyadelphous is the filaments are united in several groups like bombax, in bombax. So this is the arrangement of stamens that you, if you remember, it will always help you. और pistil में भी यही है. अगर एक pistil है that is monocarpellary, अगर ज़्यादा है तो multicarpellary. और where there are more than one is multicarpellary. The pistils may be fused together. Pistil fuse भी हो सकता है, जिसको क्या कहते हैं, सिन कार्पस. और ये फ्री भी हो सकते हैं, and may be free, जिसको क्या बोलते हैं, एपोकार्पस. So these terms students have to remember here. That is, syncarpus means fused pistils and free pistils are called apocarpus, right? So stigma style ovary you have all read number of times, and the placenta is there. What is the placenta? Actually, इसका ovule का there is a stalk with the ovule. This stalk is called the funicle, and the attachment of the funicle with the ovary is called the placenta. Okay, so this placenta is the attachment of the funicle with the ovule. So ये जो this placenta is giving rise to the megasporangia. Okay, so about placenta you have already heard. So placenta already read also. Placenta is the connection between the ovule and the ovary through the stalk. So the attachment with the stalk of the ovule. So similarly in humans also there is a placenta in the mother's body, which is the connection of the mother with the fetus. So similarly here also placenta is there, and microsporangia arise from the placenta, and this microsporangia give rise to the megaspores, and these microsporangia commonly are called the ovules. Microsporangia are called the ovules. Okay, these megasporangia are called the ovules, and the microsporangia are later on called the pollen sac. But this megasporangia, which has arisen from the placenta, is commonly called the ovule, right? So these things you have to remember, students. And about funicle I have already talked. So the body of the ovule fuses with the funicle in the region called helium. Helium also you have to remember. And integuments are there, protected, protecting membranes. Micropyle you have already heard. And opposite the micropyle end in the chalaza represents the basal part of the ovule. Okay, chalaza is the basal part of the ovule. So embryo sac you are already aware of, the female gametophyte, right? And then pollination, I have already studied about pollination, the different kinds of pollination, self-pollination, cross-pollination, and the pollinating agent in case of cross-pollination. If the pollination is taking place in the bisexual flower, in the same flower, it will be polygamy, it will be autogamy in the same flower if the pollination is taking place. In the same bisexual flower, it is autogamy, okay? And if the pollination is taking place in two different flowers, it is your geitonogamy, okay? And if the pollination is taking place in two different plants, then it is xenogamy. So these different types of pollination, the terms used, you have to just remember. Agents of pollination there, water, air, right? These are the agents of insects, animal, etc., birds, etc. The water is the pollinating agent for the aquatic plants, but not all aquatic plants are pollinated by water. There are some plants like the water hyacinth and water lily. So their flowers come up about the water level, and the pollination takes place by air, wind, air or insects, etc. Right? Or birds, etc. Not by water. So these small things also you can just remember, students. And the most important point, the fertilization. Okay, it is the double fertilization in plants. You are having the figures also in a book. So this is also called the pistil. This is also called the pollen pistil interaction. Okay. So what is this double fertilization? You have to thoroughly remember, students, and I am sure that you have studied about this. Okay. So this interaction between pollen and pistil is very important. So what is happening, as we just now saw, that pollen grains have been transferred to the stigma. So they are falling on the stigma, which is having some chemicals, some enzymes, and sugary substance is there, sticky substance. So the pollen grains remain there on the stigma, and then one pollen grain after maturation, what is happening there? It is developing into a pollen tube because of this chemotropism, that is movement because of some chemical reaction. Okay, this pollen tube is coming down through the style and is entering into the ovule through the micropyle. So this pollen tube is carrying what? Carrying along with it the two male gametes. Okay, and while two male gametes are entering into the ovule through the egg body, that is the female gamete, and in the egg cell is there, and two synergies are there. So the gametes are entering into the synergy through the help of the filiform apparatus, and then the one male gamete is fusing with the egg cell and forming the diploid zygote, and the other gamete is fusing with the two polar nuclei in the middle of the central cell. So the central cell is that of the endosperm. So two polar nuclei are being fused by the another male gamete. So the central cell is there, the two polar nuclei are there. So that in total there are three fusions. So there are three fusions, but fertilization has taken place twice only. One at the base, the male gamete is fused with the egg cell. So this is the female gamete. That is the female gamete, the egg cell, and the other female part is the polar nuclei where the fusion has taken place. So fertilization has taken place here also, because fertilization is the fusion of male gamete with the female gamete, or female part of the female gamete. So syngamy is there at the base, and then another fusion is there with the polar nuclei. Then this is called double fertilization in plants. One fertilization takes place at the base where the egg apparatus is there, egg cell, the gamete fuses with the egg egg cell and forms the diploid zygote, and the another gamete moves to the two polar nuclei, which is there in the central cell. So there another fertilization takes place. So there is a double fertilization in plants, and fusion is thrice. So it is a triploid. At the center with the polar nuclei, it is a triploid state, and at the base it is the diploid state, right? So this is double fertilization. Figures are there. You should remember the labeling of these figures. Okay. And if you talk about the cells of the embryo sac, how many cells are there? There are 7 cells, okay, in the plant embryo sac. Okay, and these cells, how there are 7 cells? 7-celled embryo is there. When the embryo sac develops into an embryo, then there are 7 cells. As I said just now, as I explained just now, at the base, egg apparatus is there. So there are 3 cells, 2 synergid, 1 egg cell. 3. At the top, 3 antipodal cells. So 3 and 3, 6, and 1, the bigger central cell, which is which makes it 7. Okay, and 8 nucleus is there, nuclei is there. So it is 8 nuclei, right? 7 cells and 8 nuclei. Or nucleate. So this you have to remember, okay? And in human reproduction, chapter 3, all these things you have studied before also, okay? So just to repeat them, what is the reproductive organ in human? Male, that is testis. Main organ is testis. So students, testis में क्या क्या होता है? Testis क्यों स्क्रोटम में है? इसलिए है कि वो testis का जो cells है, that can जो cells है वो produce क्या कर रहा है? Sperms. Actually testis में there are 250 lobules, 250 compartments. Okay, so in the compartments, what is happening? Sperms are produced by the seminiferous tubules by the process of spermatogenesis, or they are situated outside the abdominal cavity within a pouch called the scrotum. क्योंकि ये जो sperms produce होते हैं, they can survive in a temperature which is less than the body temperature. So the scrotum helps in maintaining a low temperature of the testes, that is 2 to 2.5 degrees centigrade, lower than the normal internal body, necessary for spermatogenesis. अगर टेम्परेचर कम नहीं होगा तो spermatogenesis नहीं होगा और sperms will not be formed. So these things you have to remember. And the other types of cells which are there in the testes are the cells of Leydig, which are producing the hormone testosterone, which is the male hormone. Now testes are producing the major part of the cells, which are there in the seminiferous tubules, are producing sperms. और sperm के बारे में आप लोगों ने पढ़ा हुआ है, the shape of the sperms, the head, the middle piece, and then the tail portion. So these things you have already studied about sperm. That is the male germ cells, okay, and the male sex accessory ducts include, which are the accessory ducts? There's a rete testis, vasa differentia, epididymis, and vas deferens. These are the accessory ducts in the male reproductive system. You all know, okay. So the sperms are maturing in the epididymis, which is which is there on the wall of the testes, and then the mature sperms are taken by the sperm duct or the vas deferens, and under the just below the bladder, they are turning into the urethra, okay, to be discharged to the ampulla in the female reproductive tract during coitus. So this you have studied a lot of number of times. So these things you have to remember always, okay. And these accessory glands of this your prostate gland and the seminal vesicles, what they are doing, they are making the sperms in a liquid state, that is called the semen, and they are the prostate gland is also making the medium of the semen alkaline, so that it does not make any damage in the female reproductive tract if it is acidic, right? So these are the extra information that you need to know in this chapter, okay. And figures are there again in your book, NCERT book. Please go through them. You will be very clearly revise all these important parts. And about the ovaries, the female reproductive main part is ovaries, and ovaries having the cells are called actually follicles, and follicles mature into Graafian follicle. One Graafian follicle will release a mature egg on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. So this formation of or release of egg is affected by the hormones which are released by the pituitary, that is the FSH, the LH, follicle stimulating hormone, the luteinizing hormone, etc. So these follicles are actually the cells of the ovaries. So after the Graafian follicle has released the mature egg, then the remaining part of the Graafian follicle will become the corpus luteum, which is a yellow mass, and it secretes the hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So this is all about the ovaries that you have to remember. Okay, and what other parts are there in the female reproductive system that you are already aware of? The ovaries are there, and the fallopian tube, the oviduct, and the uterus. Okay, and the female genitalia, which is your the labia minora, labia majora, mons pubis, etc., which is mainly the female external genitalia, which are including these parts. Okay, and now the other important things, if you see the figure 3.3, you can find the female reproductive system, and the leveling has been done very neatly and very profoundly. So please practice these figures and revise these diagrams, so that there is any question is there, you can answer them properly. The part closer to the ovary is the funnel-shaped infundibulum. The edges of the infundibulum possesses finger-like projections called the fimri. So the part of the part closer to the ovary, of this fallopian tube is the infundibulum, and the edges of the infundibulum possesses finger-like projections, which are called the fimri. So these terms you have to remember, students. Okay. And about the sperm structure, you are already aware of. There's a figure also there, structure of a sperm. That is, as I just now said, head, neck, middle piece, and a tail. Acrosome is there at the in the head, which is containing lysosomes, and lysosomes for the penetrating the inhibiting membrane of the egg cell. So egg cell is having an inhibiting membrane which is being penetrated by the sperm through its acrosome, which is the acrosome is filled with enzymes that help fertilization of the ova. So like this, you have to also very clearly remember the menstrual cycle, students. Menstrual cycle, it is the reproductive cycle of female. So the reproductive cycle means what? Means that if it starts with the menstrual phase, which lasts for 3 to 5 days. Actually, the endometrium, the uterus of the female reproductive system has three layers: the epimetrium, the endometrium, the myometrium, and the endometrium. So endometrium has prepared itself to receive the fertilized egg cell, that is the zygote. So it has become thicker and vascularity has increased. So now it has prepared itself to receive the zygote for the implantation. But if fertilization does not take place, which generally happens, then what will happen? The levels of the hormones, estrogen, progesterone, will also go down drastically, and this thick wall, endometrial wall, will shed off in the form of blood and mucus. And if fertilization has taken place, then the zygote will be implanted on the endometrial wall, and then it will develop into an embryo. Then embryo will develop into a fetus, which will become fetus will then a childbirth will take place. Birth of a child will take place. So this is the complete process. But if fertilization does not take place, and every time it does not take place, so the shedding is there, which is called the menstrual phase. After this menstrual phase, again the cycle starts, and the follicular stage is on now. Okay, in a 28-day cycle, so it lasts for 13 to 14 days, where 14 day of the mature egg is released. In the follicular stage, the follicles become mature and they become Graafian follicle. Graafian follicle releases a mature egg on the 14th day, and from the 14th day to the menstrual phase, the mature egg mature egg has been released, and now the endometrium is preparing itself with the help of all these hormones secreted by the pituitary, the estrogen, progesterone also. It is preparing itself to receive the zygote after fertilization. So this cycle lasts for 28 days. Okay, and if fertilization does not take place, again shedding will be there, again menstrual phase will be there, and cycle will continue up to 40 to 45 years of age, and after that there is a total stoppage of menstrual cycle. Then that stage is called the menopause. And some other important points are there, like your after coitus, sperms are transported into the ampulla, where the sperm fertilizes, the ovum, leading to formation of a diploid zygote. That I discussed just now. The presence of X or Y chromosomes in the sperm determines the sex of the children. Sex of the embryo, then of the child. So if the X of the sperm, X chromosome of the sperm fertilizes with the X chromosome of the female gamete, that X cell, then what will happen? The combination will be XX, then it will be a daughter child. And if the Y chromosome of the sperm combines with the X chromosome of the female, then the combination will be XY. That is a male child. That means a male child. So like this, it depends on which chromosome of the sperm is combining with the X chromosome of the mother, because the sperm is having both the chromosomes X as well as Y, but the mother is having both the chromosomes as X chromosomes. So this is how the sex is determined, students, and this we have studied also in earlier classes. And the process of childbirth is called the parturition, which is induced by a complex, neurohormonal or neuroendocrinal process, because it involves a hormone also that is called the oxytocin. There's some cortisol also, right? So this is the process of childbirth, which is called the parturition. And then mammary glands also differentiate during pregnancy and secrete milk after childbirth. So these things you have to remember, students, in class 12 particularly. About reproductive health is all about the good overall health of the in the reproductive age of a female, right? So the good health means good well-being means what? Means the physical health, the mental health, and also the social health. So all taken together, if there's a good well-being, then it is a good health. Okay, so in all the aspects, mentally, physically, and also socially. So reproductive health problems and strategies. So there are a number of problems in the reproductive health, because your frequent pregnancies are detrimental to the health of a mother, and there are other diseases also. There are sexually transmitted diseases, and there's a lot of changes, mental and physical, in the female body during pregnancy. So frequent pregnancies may have a detrimental impact on the health. Okay, so the population explosion has been there. So how to control this how to control this explosion? By the birth control devices, which also comes in the reproductive health. So to avoid frequent pregnancies, to plan the family. So the permanent ways are there, surgical ways, which are the vasectomy and the tuberctomy. In the vasectomy, the vast difference is cut and tied in a male, and in a female, the fallopian tube is cut and tied, which is called the tuberctomy. And other than this, there are so many other techniques of contraception, right? Various contraceptive options are available now, such as natural, traditional, barrier, IUDs, okay, pills, etc. Right? So pills are also used more commonly nowadays. So the injectables are also there, implants and surgical methods already I have explained. Through contraceptives are not regular requirements for reproductive health, though contraceptives are not regular requirements for reproductive health. One is forced to use them to avoid pregnancy or to delay or space pregnancy. So these contraceptives may have some side effects, because they are all hormones. They are all placebos. They are all hormones which look like hormones, and they suppress the release of hormones inside. So in the ovaries. So that is why pregnancy does not take place, or does not happen. But since they are chemicals and the pseudo hormones, so they may be detrimental after a long time use. Medical termination of pregnancy is also legalized in our country. So, if pregnancy has taken place because of some unavoidable circumstances, or it cannot be continued because of some unavoidable circumstances, then medical termination of pregnancy is allowed. Okay. And now the another aspect is inability to conceive, and in this inability to conceive, which is called the infertility, there have been some ways nowadays, like test tube baby. Okay, so in vitro fertilization means outside the body or outside the cell, it is called in vitro. Inside the cell or inside the body, it is called the in vivo. So in vitro fertilization is now in practice, which is followed by transfer of embryo into the female genital tract, and one of such methods is called the test tube baby program. So these are the various methods used for to in infertility. Okay, where couples cannot have children, or inability to conceive or produce children even after 2 years of unprotected sexual cohabitation. So, students, you have to remember these salient features, these important points in class 12. Okay. I think I will end this part of revision here only, and in the next video I will come up with some other important parts of some of the important chapters. So till then, goodbye, and wish you the very best in your exams, and thank you so much. God bless you all.